Okay, guys, today's episode is going to be one of my favorites. It's 5 chapters. It's why entrepreneurs stay stuck. So I've compiled the top 5 things of why I see people stay stuck. So we're going to go through each chapter. Before we get into it, I'm going to read you guys what the chapters actually are to kind of tease you on. We'll go through every chapter individually. Chapter 1 is your business can only grow to the level you do. Chapter 2 is distractions is destroying entrepreneurs. Chapter 3 is discipline is the real superpower. Chapter 4 is success without purpose leaves people empty. And chapter 5 is the real flex is peace. So we're going to start at the very top. Again, the journey of entrepreneurship to me is not just about money. I think that is the lowest level of currency because I've seen a lot of people make a lot of money and lose peace along the way. They've lost families. And so let me get into this first because I think this is like very, very passionate for me. When I was younger, I didn't come from any money. I went to a successful school. And so I saw wealth, right? I saw people in nice cars. I saw all this stuff. And so my thing was like curiosity. Like I want that. Like I want the nice cars. I want the nice houses. I want all that, right? So the way for me to get it was, well, why don't I ask these people that have it, like how do they get it? Why are they different than me, right? Like all those things I just didn't know what was going on. So I'm like, well, let me go to all the kids in my high school and let me ask them like, hey, can I go to lunch and dinner with your dad? And just sit down and figure out like what the secret is that I don't know about, right?
And so, how old are you at this point?
I would have been, this is freshman in high school.
Okay.
Yeah. Cause for me, it was like, I grew up in a small bubble. My parents never really got us outside. So like, I think we talked about this before, but like a 2-story house was like, you're rich, right?
Yeah.
Never saw wealth. There was that one house on top of the hill near Belinda that was just so distant from me. I was just like, that person just probably owns the world. Like it was just not even a thing. Right. But then you go to my school and you're like, wait, all these kids have, nice things. And I'm in this beat up truck, where like my windows are rolling down like this and like everybody else is in like brand new cars, right? And so I started getting curious and just asking my friends like, hey, can you talk to your dad? Like, can I go to lunch or can I just call him or can I just ask questions, right? And during that process, I realized that I went to probably over 150 lunches and dinners or conversations with different dads at the school. 2 of them were people I wanted to be like. All of them were money hungry, aggressive, just like you walked away feeling, ugh, I don't want that. Like I want the money, but if the money means that, like I don't want that, right? Fast forward to a more intimate time. I was dating a girl in high school and her dad was also extremely money heavy. It was always about the next deal. He was a grinder too. He worked 18, 20 hours. Like the work ethic was through the roof, but it was just money, 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 right? And fast forward, and we'll make a long story short, but it led to his ex-wife committing suicide, and I was a part of that situation. So I saw what money did to families, not just from the standpoint of like, oh, it broke the family, like to the point of death. And the repercussions of that situation, that wasn't just the death, right? It was the chain reaction of, my ex-girlfriend at the time, the daughter, going through just the pain, the ripple effects of just what a decision you make as an entrepreneur can affect not just yourself, but generations, right? So this is a very deep topic for me that I want to get into. And I want to make sure people know, like, give you a backstory. You and I both didn't come from any money, self-made completely. Ups and downs of how I've got my wealth. And all of it was because I kept seeking really great mentors. And it wasn't mentors that were just wealthy. It was mentors that were wealthy in multiple different ways of their life, not just financially, but in their family life, in their faith. And those are the things that we're going to kind of break this down with because it's not just money is the lowest currency in my head. The highest currency is peace. I would rather take peace over all the money in the world. If I was just the most peaceful guy ever, I didn't have any money. That's my first situation. Obviously, though, we want it both. We want to have peace and we want to have a lot of wealth, right? And so there's a way to do that. So that's what we're going to dive into first. So before getting to that, like, do you have anything before we get into the chapters, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think I just kind of want to get started because you mentioned when you were talking to these dads from the friends that you had in high school, you said there were 2 that stuck out that you wanted to be like, the rest were like, that feeling that you had internally, how long would you say that carried? Because, obviously there were times where or I guess I could ask you, like, were there times where you lost sight of that internal feeling and you felt like you were stuck more?
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it was, it's funny because the two people that I met, it wasn't like a logical thing at first. It was more of an emotional thing, a more of a feeling, I should say.
Okay.
So like you'd walk into their house and be like, this house feels peaceful. Like no words were being said. Everybody was on the same page. You walk into another house or you jump on another call or you go to another dinner and you just feel anxiety. You feel tense. You feel like you're being watched. You're being inspected. The other ones, you felt like you were being loved and like they really wanted to help. It was weird. Like I didn't at the time, I didn't know what that actually was, but it was the things behind the curtain that was done by those families that nobody sees to make the home feel like that, to make the situation feel like that, right? Doesn't mean they were soft. They're actually more hard, but it was in a loving way where then when you did upset them or you did let them down. I'll give you an example. So one of the guys is a guy named John Kruger. He was the angel investor, the guy who sold Travis Matthews to Callaway.
Okay.
And I was friends with his son and I went to his house multiple times. It was one of those houses. You're just like, it's a beautiful house, but you're just like, this family is so peaceful. Everything was in order. Everything was just the communication between their family. Hindsight, you're like, this family is so impressive, but I don't know why. Like it's so impressive, but house was spotless. Kids were super respectable, just like such a loving home, right? And so I was so curious with him. And so I remember asking him like, hey, can I go to lunch with you so we can dive into, at first I asked him, can I shadow you for the day? And he's like, if you follow me around, you won't know what I'm doing, but let's go to lunch. Like, let's sit down. And so I go in being so nervous because he was the one I didn't want to let down the most, right? And this I would have been 14 because I was a freshman in high school. And I sat down with him. I remember I got there a little bit early. Dude, I was shaking. I'm so nervous. And not because he mean guy. It was just because I was nervous because like literally it was just like, dude, like this guy is so powerful. Sit down with him and he goes, okay, so tell me how you're doing. Like, what's your clothing brand? Like, what's going on? So I started telling him and I started just inflating the numbers. I started saying like, I'm doing 200 shirts a day and I'm doing this pricing. I'm doing all this stuff, right? He looks at me all calmly and he's not judging me. He's just looking at me, not judging me, but it's like inspecting, right? And I got done talking. He goes, can I tell you advice that I want you to carry through the rest of your life? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I know you're lying about this. And I know it's probably not for the reasons that it's because you just want to lie. It's probably just trying to impress me or something like that. He's like, but the math doesn't make sense. And so with a lot of mentors that know the person's lying to them, they won't mentor you again. And he says, let me tell you a situation about ethics. And he told me a story. And he said he had a deal where he could have had the deal go through, but it was against his morals, it was against his ethics. And he said he could have just called the person and said, hey, I can't do this deal, right? But he wanted to make sure it was respectable. So he jumped on a private jet, flew to Vegas, met with the guy for 15 minutes, looked him in the eyes and said, hey, I don't think this deal is right, but I want to make sure you know it's not you. It's just the deal to me isn't right with my ethics. I appreciate your relationship, everything else. And he flew back. And he's like, did I have to spend $30,000 to do that situation? No. He's like, but the situation of doing it right has always been the most important thing to me. Now, if you're looking at money, you would lie, you would do other things, right? And I sat there and I was so embarrassed. To this day, it was the best lesson I've ever learned because I was like, oh my gosh, like one, you can't fool super smart people because they're just analyzing everything. They know the numbers, they know everything, right? And I walked away there and I was so embarrassed. And to this day, that was the biggest day I've ever had with a mentor because it got me to realize like, what are you doing, right? So fast forward now, I am not at his level by any means, let me get that very clear, but very knowledgeable in business, have grown multiple businesses, have scaled multiple businesses. I go get my hair cut 3 days ago, and it's with my hairstylist. And I show up on time, and he's late. I text him, hey, I'm here. He goes, oh, I'm hitting traffic. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. I have this feeling where I'm like, he forgot. He forgot for sure. And so he's like, I'll be there. Like, sorry, traffic is horrible. So the first thing I do is like go on my phone. I look at the traffic and it's all green. No traffic anywhere in the area, right? So I'm like, okay, interesting. So all of a sudden it goes by, 15 minutes goes by, 20 minutes. I'm working, so it's not a big deal, but it's like, time is everything. So then he comes in rushing and I look at him and I said, you were late, huh? And he goes, no. He's like, there's so much traffic, bro. There's so much traffic. And I said, let me tell you something only because I love you and I care about like you getting better. You try to pull that stuff on high level people, you will never get out of this little barbershop that you're in right now. I'm like, there was no traffic at all. He goes, no, bro, there was. I'm like, where are you coming from? And he was like, Santa Ana. And I was like, I came from Irvine. And it was the same pathway. Like, it took me 15 minutes, took you 30 minutes. I'm like, you forgot, huh? He's like, yeah, bro. Yeah, I did, right? I'm like, I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to teach you. Do you want to still be in this barbershop? Do you want to do what all these other barbershops guys are doing? Or do you actually want to live up to what you want to do and grow and be better with people? You harm anybody's relationship like this, higher people will never give you a second chance.
Right.
And he was like, oh. And why did I learn that? Because I was him. It wasn't like I was better. I was that person. And so for me, the funny thing is like, a lot of people wouldn't have had that conversation that I did with him. But because I felt the receiving end of it, where it taught me so much, I was like, I'm so blessed that John did that to me. And now I'm willing to do it to other people. Not in a way of like, dude, you suck, but more so like, do you want to still do this? Yeah. Do you want to actually be great? You say you do. You talk a big game, but you're not. Your actions aren't showing what your words are showing. So that distance between those two things is going to keep you small. So what do you really want? Like, keep doing that then, right? Who knows if that would impact him as much as it impacted me with John. But it's interesting because the leadership thing, a lot of people have been like, let's not go into that hard conversation. He's cutting my hair. I'm going to sit here for 30 minutes and it's going to be awkward. And it was awkward. Yeah. But for me, do you see the intentions of it? I knew that they say a mentor will risk your friendship for your success and a friend will risk your success for friendship. That was huge to me. Yeah. Because you're like, I will risk it being awkward. I'll risk for most people that like this could crush our friendship if I tell them the truth about where they're going. Right. Why? Because I'm risking our friendship for their success. Yeah. And a real friend won't do that. They'll risk your success for,
a fake friend.
Yeah. Well, yeah, fake. I mean, but it's also, I don't want to say a fake friend. I would also say like it's people that don't like conflict.
100%.
Oh, I want to tell them the truth. But I know how they're going to react. It's going to be difficult for them, right? And that's why I've learned in entrepreneurship is like, you have to have a lot of hard conversations. You're forced to, and you don't want to, but you have to if you actually are going to be growing a big business, if you're going to scale a lot. So that's kind of the beginning part of it. So again, your business can only grow to the level that you do. So this is a quote that I always say, all the time, where it doesn't get easier, you just get better. And so you ask yourself, well, how do you actually get better? And there's a few ways. Number one, and this is one I'll pull out. Actually, I was reading this morning, but James talks about this, and it was so awesome. So it says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that's a testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. That's James 1 chapter 1, verse 2 through 3 or 4. Now it's interesting because it says, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. And so when I think about that, like obviously God is talking from a faith standpoint, but it goes multi-level. It goes from business as well. So I think a lot of people are always trying to avoid discomfort. They're always trying to avoid, oh no, like now I'm in a situation where I have to fire people or I have to make hard decisions and like I really don't want to. And if you can change your mindset of like that, you're not there yet, right? But that's good. You're at this capacity that you need to evolve into the next person. So it's like, why can somebody fire people and they have no emotions whatsoever? They're still kind, right? They care about the people, but they're not like, I mean, the first person I had to let go, it was just like, I thought I lost sleep.
Like the night before, all the way leading up to
crush
it,
this
and
person.
Time after, like days after.
Yeah, and then the third, fourth one you go through, it gets easier, and the fifth one gets easier. And so if I can go back to the first one, I would tell myself like have confidence in these trials, right? That is going to make you more mature. And like when I read that this morning, I was just like, that is literally what it is. It's if you're not going through hard times in business, you're not doing business the right way, because business is the best university school in the world, because it's always teaching you something about yourself, your insecurities, your what really you don't want to do, are you still willing to
Right.
do it for the betterment of the company and for yourself, right? Nothing else does that, and that I've seen. Like there's small things here and there, but how many times I have to go through situations in business to make a hard conversation or a hard decision. You look at the average person who, let's say, is an employee, right? It's maybe family here and there.
Right.
It's maybe twice to 5 times a year. I'm doing it twice to 5 times a week, if not a day, right? So you think about it, you're like, well, okay, but who's going to get better? Well, it's reps, right? I'm going through it more. And so the more you throw yourself into a bad situation, a hard situation, the better you get with it, right? And so I think about, for example, this will be a good analogy. Let's take like Bear Grylls, for example, right? Well, that guy can go in the wilderness and he can, live off of the land, right? If all of a sudden the supermarket's shut down, do you think Bear Grylls is freaking out?
TV personality Bear Grylls?
Yeah.
Or no, he's definitely not.
And why?
He's like, okay, I can deal with it.
I know how to go into the wilderness and make this happen for myself.
And milk poop to drink water.
I have all the resources. I know all of it. Now, a guy like me is not Bear Grylls. And so if that happens, I'm like, I don't know how to do all this stuff. And so I start freaking out a lot. The only difference is he actually has the resources and skill sets to be able to go through. So I think about for entrepreneurship standpoint, Megan asked me this morning and she was like, is there anything that would actually throw you off? Like, what if we lost everything right now? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I have you and me with all the skill sets that we have. Like, it's hard to pull us down. Like, we could start from zero tomorrow and go out and get money like that. Like, not even considering like my brands, like it's like literally just like, I mean, we made so much money the last like couple of weeks just by organic content, right? Now, why? Because the videos I'm putting out aren't like fake, oh, let me go to ChatGPT or Claude and write me the best hook and all this. It's me just to the screen giving what I'm actually learning on a daily basis. And so you can't fake that, right? And so it's like, well, how am I able to get these results? Well, because I've actually gone through the situation the right way. I've gone through the hard times. I'm seeking learning. I mean, all my coaching goes to me hiring more mentors. So a lot of people would just be like, oh, let's make coaching a business. Let's keep this money and not go through the flow of it. Let's hold it. And let's go on vacations. Let's do all these things. It's like, no, that's not what it's for. Mine is, okay, I'm making X amount of money. Let's go get the best mentors. Oh, okay, this mentor cost me 120 grand. Okay, I got to get better at coaching. Okay, well, let's do it. He's going to teach me something. That's how I can get higher level people, right? And so it's this flow of just like, and also it allows you to, that one of the coaching mentors I'm a part of, we have to post our wins every single week. And all the community is posting insane wins, right? And so you get to a point where you're like your $1,000 coaching of what maybe your mind was a few years ago is not very big. So it gets you to think, well, what if I charge 5,000?
Right.
What if I charge 10,000? And all of a sudden you're like, well, yeah, I'm going to have to, because I look like idiots saying I got $1,000 deal to these people. So even if that's good enough for you to be like, well, let's just raise it because I feel like these people are better than me. It's almost like you go running with somebody and you're around the top runners in the world and you're like, bro, I just did like a 7:30 pace. They're like, that was warm up. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to kill myself to be around these people. It's the same situation, right? So the business can only grow as much as you grow. And that's chapter 1. That is why I always preach, if you do not have mentors, if you're not learning on a daily basis, you cannot expect to grow your company the right way. And growth might be the worst thing for you because you have to be a different person to get to the next level. I'll give an example of this. So I'm coaching a student right now. Took him from $60,000 to now about $300,000 in revenue. He's about to lose his business completely. And the reason is because he did not listen to what I talked about from the very beginning, which was if you do not know your numbers, that money will leave you so fast and you will be out of business before you know it. So here's what's happening. He has not looked at his numbers at all. He then got chargebacks after they got all their money, and then now they have extra profit, and they've taken the profit and they just push it to all the owners, right? Oh, we have $50,000 left over. Let's pay ourselves $25,000 each, right? No money in the business. How much do you have in savings? I ask him. 0. What do you have in debt right now in the business? $150K. Okay, what's your APR? I'm not too sure. problem, right? Okay, so what do you guys think you need to do right now? And he's like, well, we have a $70,000 discrepancy this month that we need to go, okay, what do you think you're going to do? Well, we got to go get $70,000. How are you going to get $70,000? We got to sign up contracts that are paid in full, right? It's like, okay, so you sign up $70,000 in contracts paid in full, 6-month contracts. What does that mean? Well, that means we're back to zero. Okay, well, then you're pushing that into the next month. And so this weekend, I broke down the whole thing to him, and I was like, I never say this, but this is code red. And the reason why I care so much, because you guys are not going to have a business. Your check is going to bounce to me. And so I'm trying to save your business, but also save one of my students from coaching as well, right? Now, what'll happen with that? You ask him about his numbers. He has no idea. His business partner has no idea where his numbers are. So I asked him, I was like, let's go through the situation real quick. This is how bad it's going to be. And I want to give you the roadmap of what's actually happening. Because for me, people hire me because I literally give them the truth. Some people want to sugarcoat things, but when I say it's code red, that means they know this is really bad. Because Jared's always like encouraging, like, hey, this is bad, but like we can get out of this. Like there's a way. We have to execute, but we got to get out of this, right? So I show him, I say, okay, you guys have zero in savings, right? My rule is have at least 3 to 6 months of expenses in your savings account, just in case bad things happen, right? You have zero in savings. You're maxed out in debt. You can't pull any more debt. There's one other debt that they can apply for to get some money out of it, but then now you're even buried in more debt, which is like 22% APR. Okay, so are your clients currently happy with you right now? And he's like, probably 2 clients are happy with me. Okay, so now you run the risk of those clients charging you back as well. You run the risk of those clients not renewing with you, so your churn goes up, right? So then what's happening is for you guys to think, oh, we have a discrepancy this month of $70,000. We need to go get PIFs paid in full, which are 6-month contracts, to cover the $70,000. Well, that's not how you should actually calculate the money, because you're taking future money for you to cover your bad habits in the past.
Right.
So what you really need is you need to go make $420,000, because that's divided by 6. Right. That's the actual 70 grand. Can you guys make $420,000 in contracts right now? He's like, oh my gosh, no, we've never had a sales done. Okay. So then what needs to happen? Again, we just got to go make 70,000. I'm like, okay, so let me give you this. You make 70,000. You now don't have zero in your account this month. You now need to fulfill those things. So the client paid you for 6 months.
Yep.
You got to fulfill those things. Next month, the same issue pops up. Then what do? The same cover PIF, right? Then go forward. Eventually that will run out. Eventually those people will get so pissed off, or they won't get in their services because you can't fulfill them, that then they will say, wait a minute, I didn't get my services, so I'm going to charge you back, and charge back. Pretty soon, and it's one more chargeback away,
right.
He has $0 in his bank account. Now he can't pay his employees. Now his employees are going to realize they're not getting a check. What are they going to do? We're not going to work, right? We're out. Okay, now what do? How do you be able to do that? You go to your clients and say, hey, we're delayed. They're going to be pissed off. So what do? Charge you back. Now you're negative. What happens? You got to BK yourself. It's the only way possible. You're currently actual real numbers and about $500,000 in debt. And so that's what's happening right now. So he's just like, oh man, what do I do? I was like, I'll tell you what to do. You got to cut deep and you got to cut once. And he's like, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, first of all, you have to locate. We have to get profitable right now. So how do we do that? So the first thing is, don't pay yourselves this month. That's the first thing. And also they're like, well, we can't. We have kids. We have this. We have to pay ourselves. You don't have a business that can pay you.
The other option is there's
no more money for the forever,
and
you're done,
and lawsuits, and you're
done. Yeah. Like done. Like not like they will also seize all of your investments you work so hard on, and you go to zero, right? So you cannot pay yourself. So see, like the short-term mindset of just like, well, if I do that, I'm going to bounce my rent. You will bounce your whole life. Like that's the biggest thing. So you can't pay yourself right now. So that's saving about 35,000. Okay, payroll is about 100 grand. Who can we cut tomorrow? Oh, I don't know if I want to do that, man. Like, no, it doesn't matter. Who are we cutting tomorrow? Who is the one that if you cut will not make that big of an impact? It might be more work on some people, but who is it? So we went down the line item as 4 people. So we cut the actual budget for themselves, so no owner's pay. We got fired 4 people. And then we also said, okay, you guys are running ads. They're running like $50,000 a month in ads. I'm like, what are you guys making from the ads? They didn't even know the number. We broke the number down. They were losing $54,000 a month in ad spend. And the reason why is because they thought it was profitable because they were taking the PIF number and taking that for the whole entire month. Versus if you allocate what the actual term is, right? Getting kind of techie here, but high-level people understand what I'm tracking. You take that number and you're like, oh, we're elevated, but no, you divide it by 6. Now that number is way below. Yeah. So I'm like, you guys are losing $54,000 a month on ads. We have to stop ads literally now. So with us stopping ads, not paying the owners, firing 4 people in their company, right? Notice how I say you have to cut deep and you have to cut once. What a lot of owners will do is they won't cut deep and they won't cut once. And the reason,
little trim here,
because then what happens to culture? People get nervous. I'm next. I'm next.
Exactly.
Versus, remember what happened when we had that situation happen in our company? I called you. Remember the conversation I had? This is bad. I'm not paying myself. I'm going to get to work. Here's what I'm doing. Give you clarity on it. I need you right now, Jake. I need you to help. And what did you say? Whatever you need. Let's go. Right? So that was, but then if you start seeing me fire this person, and not talk to you at all, probably be like, hey babe, we got to look at a different job. Like I might get fired because like, right. It's lack of clarity versus when you cut deep and you cut once, you're telling your team, I got rid of the B and C players. You are my A players. Here's what is happening. I know we can fix this. I'm willing to make crazy sacrifice and not pay myself and not do these things, right? Not in a way of like, guys, I'm not paying myself, like mad about it. Guys, this is what we're doing. This is the plan. I need you guys right now. Like we can get through this. If you get through it together as a team, what happens is actually the culture develops more. Then they realize like, holy cow, we have a CEO that's willing to do anything to survive. And it's almost fun to come back from a big lead. Right? Like you're in the locker room and you're like, you go in the halftime and you're like, guys, we're down by 30, but we got this. We didn't come like, let's go. And then all of a sudden they go out and they get fired up. That's a part of business, right? Now, when you trickle. So then what happens is I talked to him on Saturday. Mind you, I'm not supposed to be working on this weekend. I just did it because I care about my students so much, right? I go and I'm talking to him and I'm like, so what are you going to do? He's like, I don't know. I'll just let you know, right? Again, you're not willing to do what you need to do to be an entrepreneur. So that's what comes down to. It's Memorial Day weekend. The next day, where is he? He's on a boat somewhere with friends. It's like, that is not what I was doing. I was in that freaking office 24/7 getting it done. So it comes down to like, oh, what does that mean though? You're not the person. You didn't grow to the level that your business needs you to. And so the worst thing that happened to him was growth. And so if you think about it, you're like, well, you know, at the end of the day, it's not the worst. The game's not over yet. It's going to teach him such a harsh lesson that it's either going to bend him or break him, right? But he's not letting the trials mold him. He's running away from the hard things. If I just bury my head in the sand, this whole thing would be taken care of, right? And the best I can do is just ruffle some feathers and be like, this is going to happen. Here's a plan to fix it. This is the last resort. If you don't want to do this, and this needs to happen like Monday. Like you don't have time to wait. Like this needs to happen like right now. And here is the framework to do it. The question is, are you willing to actually do it? And the answer is no. Right. So the business will be out of business. There will be lawsuits where I've worked with this guy for a year and a half, and he will have to get rid of all the investments that I've put him in play. And he's in a good position with investments, like good position. They will seize all his assets. The bank will seize everything. Bank accounts will be seized as well. Now, at the end of the day, my other thing was, bro, this isn't the worst thing for you. I don't want you to think that way. But he's a videographer and he's very talented. You already have connections. So like, it's not like your clients are going to be like, okay, we're not going to call him anymore, right? They're going to call you. And I was like, and to be honest, he's been working 18 hours nonstop all the time and getting paid $17,000, $18,000 here and there. He is at the level now where he can go get 3 or 4 events with his relationships he has. He's probably making more money with less stress. So at the end of the day, it's like, I told him, I was like, maybe you're not meant to be a CEO. And that's okay. See, like that's the identity part of it. People think like, oh, I won't be special if I don't run a big business, right? It's like, what do you actually want to do? Some people aren't supposed to be CEOs. Like, the last 2 years of him growing, it wasn't ever fun. And so it's like, well, why? It's like, because he wasn't the person that could handle a business like that. So I don't think this is for everybody. It's for the people that are willing to completely change who they are and be okay with a lot of pain. Like most people look at my job and they're like, they do not want to do what I'm doing. If I gave them my business, there's so much risk involved with it. There's so many things, there are ups and downs. And like, dude, I love it. Like I love business. And it's not because of like, oh, like, am I different? I'm different from the mindset that I'm so addicted to growth in all things, where to the point that it's a passion. It's not it sounds good, right? Oh, we love growth. We love all this, but like, it's a real passion.
Yeah.
So that's chapter 1. Do you have any questions on that?
Well, I was going to say, it seems like that the habits of, someone who is stuck are, it's gonna determine whether you take one step forward or you stay exactly where you are, is if you're willing to let go of those bad habits and learn and go through the pain. So when tough times come, even though the business has scaled and the business has done these big numbers, do you have the same habits, and are you willing to break those in order to take that step forward? So a question to you is like, what do you feel was one of the habits that you have, or one of the habits that you had to change that gave you the most growth?
Not knowing my numbers. And I kind of was the same way, where I buried my head a little bit, because it's not fun to look at your numbers.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you know it's not what you think it is, it's easier to look at your revenue numbers and be like, oh, we're crushing it, right? But then also look at your account and you're like, where is the money going? Let's just ignore it, right? When we were going to lose our business, I went to my mentors, and they completely just made me feel like a piece of crap. You don't know your margins. You don't know your numbers. You don't know your churn. You don't know anything about your business. It's like, what? You're not even a business owner, Jared. Like, that's what, like, that was literally word for word what they said. Like, you're literally not a business owner. You're a guy sitting in a CEO title who just printed something on their signature and said, I'm a CEO. That's not a CEO. So let's actually look at the real numbers. And then when we got clear on the real numbers, it was like, oh, we're in a bad situation. Okay, what do we do? What's the plan? Okay, well, we got to make this much money. We're going to have to cut deep and cut once. And so that was like, I mean, bro, like when we were losing everything, we literally got, I remember this day because we got the email from the client. They said that they weren't going to pay us. And this is heavy 6 figures. And so it was just cash flow was done. Like it was like over.
Yeah.
And so I looked at Megan and I was just like, I put that number in my financial sheet that I've shown you multiple times, boom. And all of a sudden numbers just went, just negatives. I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I looked at the number. I was like, I cannot make that much money that quickly. Like, and I at the current capacity we have and everything, like I was just freaking out. And so I got to a point where I was like, now what was happening is I was seeing the whole entire staircase. I wasn't seeing the next step. Right. And that's what happens when you see that stuff. Sometimes the staircase is so big that you're just like, I don't even want to climb the stairs.
Yeah.
Right. A mentor allows you to go step by step. Right. Like, look, we're going to get there, but we cannot focus 15 steps up. We got to go next step. Right. So the first step for me was like, let's really understand your numbers. It looks bad right now, but let's understand what we need to do, broken up by what the allocation is each day, each week, each month. Right. The first thing, how do we actually make money? Right. Now, people think I need to make more sales. For us, it was actually, how can we get rid of expenses? How can we get rid of things that's making money? Right. So we audited everything and we just got lean. I told Megan, I was just like, nothing. We don't spend money on anything. We got the information. The next day was Thanksgiving and we had my whole family coming over. Right. And, we already bought all the food and everything else, right? And I'm sitting there with all this food that I'm giving, and we're at our nice house, and it's all these different things, and it's just, I'm sitting there with Megan, like looking at her, I'm trying to cry, because I'm just like, we literally are broke, and we're having this feast, and everybody's like, oh, you're so successful, and all this, and I'm just like, we're broke. And so then the next day it was just like, well, that was our last meal. Like that was the last big meal. Like we're gonna have to literally do top ramen and PB&Js like every single day, right? And mind you, Megan's pregnant with Kaden as well, right? So I'm freaking out, like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to provide. Like I'm freaking out, right? And so then I'm calling my mentor, and he's just like, hey, look, this happened to me multiple times. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, somebody gets it. Because when you're in this like scope, you think that you're unique.
The world's falling apart.
Yeah, like I don't know anything, right? And he's like, well, first of all, do you have any business line of credit? And I'm like, no. He's like, oh, cool. He's like, Jared, then we can extend the timeline. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, let's go apply for it. Here's how you do it. Boom, 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 right? Got $50,000 business line of credit. And I was like, holy cow, now we have capital. Okay, now I don't have to make this much money in 1 month. I can push it out to 6 months, right? Now, okay, cool. Timeline went over. He's like, what about, do you have anybody else that would give you private funding at a better rate though? Because I'm thinking, oh, we got the money, right? But it was like 20% APR, which is horrible, Dad. He's like, see, you would just taken that, wouldn't you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, why don't you ask some people if they would do it at 12%? And I'm like, oh. So I start calling people and they're like, I'll offer you. Yeah, like I'll do this deal at 12%, pay me back in 1 year. I'm like, now we have a 12-month gap. Like it was just, So it's going through my options, and he was like leading me through it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, now I can see it. Now I can see what we need to do. And so that was the step by step. And it got to a point where we didn't even have to use debt because we were so calculated every single month what we're doing. And what it taught me, honestly, at that time was I was in this habit of the more I'd make, the more I'd spend. The more I'd make, the more I'd spend. Because you think it's always going to come. And I got to a point where I was like, we stopped spending a lot of money on things that were silly, and we were very calculated. I mean, we have cash in envelopes, and I would literally go, and it'd be to the point where it's like, I'd get a Chipotle burrito, and like I would now finish the full meal because I'm like, I'm not too sure if I'm gonna have another meal today. You know what I'm saying? Versus like when you have a lot of money, you're kind of like, I'm not really hungry anymore. You just throw it out, right? So it started to teach me the lesson of like, make sure you understand how powerful every single dollar actually is. And so that carried along, and that was a lesson for me where it's like, I don't care how much. When you see successful people, they don't care. If someone's ripping them off by $1, they care, right? And you're like, well, why, bro? You have so much, you're a billionaire. Like, why do you care about the dollar? It's the principle. Right. And so I was getting away from my principles because I'm just thinking, oh, money's going to come and all these different things, right? And so if you pull back that situation, you're like, what was the biggest lesson it taught me? It was that. It wasn't the fear. It wasn't the things that look on the surface. It was reforming the value of $1. I've lost my way. I've lost my principles. I think that this is always going to happen because like you feel like you can't miss. You're in this penthouse. You have this other nice house. You have all these cars. You have all these things. Oh, you want to go on vacation? Okay, we can do it. You have money in the bank. You have investments. Like it's just win, win, win. And so you start to think like it's going to keep going that way, right? And it comes to the point where it's like, well, are all of those things even identity things? They were for me. Right. And I was like, well, what's my true identity? Is it in things? Because you see how I was broken when I lost the things. I got to a point where I was like, what really matters to me? My relationship with my wife, my relationship with God. And was I even fostering those things? Absolutely not. Yeah. So that was the biggest thing that I've learned was the step-by-step versus the whole entire staircase, I would say.
Well, that kind of goes into the next chapter is distractions. You were distracted by the things, and even in the problems, distracted by the macro view. I remember we were talking recently about taking a step back and looking at the macro, but that could also be distracting. There's a time and place. So let's jump into chapter 2. Distraction is destroying entrepreneurs. What are you saying about that?
You make more money. This is one way. You make more money, and now you're keeping up with the Joneses. So let's say like, oh, let's go get that bigger house. Let's go get those nicer cars. Let's go get those things, right? So I'll give you an example. We had money at a certain time, like new money. We just came into a bunch of money, and we were like, okay, well, I want to go get my dreams. I want to go get my penthouse, right? I want to have overlook the valley kind of thing, right? So we got the place, and then what happened is actually became a distraction. Because in the beginning, I thought to myself, well, I'm gonna get this place, and I know the inspiration it's gonna give me. I'm going to make more money because of it, because of the inspiration. Right. What I didn't account for was when you have a place like that, it actually sucks some of your time as well. So, and that looks like you got to make sure you clean it. You got to make sure you use it. So that's a big part of it, right? So it was the point where it was like, hey, we haven't gone there for 7 or 8 days. And I look at Megan, I was like, we got to go. I was like, why? Because we're paying for it. I'm seeing the check coming. We got to go. Right. And so it's like, did we really want to go during that time? It was more of just like, we have to because we're using it. Same thing as a nice car. You have a nice car in the driveway, and all of a sudden you're like, well, I haven't driven this Porsche in a while. Like, let's just go take it for a spin, right? So I think there's a balance of it where some people, it's like, it does give them inspiration. It does give them more work ethic. It also, sometimes cars and things like that are used to make more business. I think having a nice car in industries like, real estate agents and things like that, like it does help in some way, but it's a fine line. Like you have to make sure you understand what that line actually is and what the purpose of it. I always used to think like having a nice watch and having a nice car and having a nice clothes on was going to be the thing that got me all the deals. And really it was the person got me the deals. I can walk in crappy clothes and people talk to me for a second. They're like, okay, that's the thing. So it's the person, not the clothes. The clothes will trick the low level people, but they won't everything else. So distractions come in different ways. Distractions are materialistic things, right? You spend more money and you have to use those things. It's also distractions of just like, what is your purpose? And I think that's what the biggest thing I've learned is if you don't know why you're doing something, why you're developing the business, why you want more money in the first place, not just because you want more money because it sounds good. Distractions will come out like crazy. I see so many people when they come into wealth, they're more distracted than ever. And a lot of distractions actually come from the reverse side of it, where it is, I'm distracted by if I fail, what people will think about me. So therefore, now it's all about money. It's all about not losing my current position. And for me, I've learned the lesson of, if you don't have a clear vision of where you're actually going, you will never, ever find peace, because distractions will harm you and rob you from your peace. And what I mean by that is like this, right? So I'll give you how me and Megan visualize our life is so if you go back 2-3 years ago, I made a video on my Instagram about this actually yesterday. 2-3 years ago, we were before kids. And we talked to a bunch of people, and they're like, what's your biggest advice before kids? Or like, travel with your wife, go do things, right? So we're like, okay, we're going to take that to heart. Like, we're going to definitely do that. So we spent a lot of money traveling, and doing different things. Did we have the money really? Like, could it have been used to put those into investments and do those certain things? Sure. Would we be in a better financial position right now if we did those things? Yes. That's not what our plan was, because our plan was, well, we want to actually like utilize this phase of our life to go travel and do experiences and nurture our relationship with each other. And so that phase was actually lifestyle accumulation phase, right? Where it was, let's get Jared's dream of the penthouse. Let's get Megan's dream of the Great Dane. Let's get the dream of traveling to different areas like Switzerland and St. George and going to Hawaii and do those things, right? Do we regret any of that stuff? Absolutely not. Like, literally, I don't care if I had more money in my bank account right now. I do not care. Those were the moments, because we sat down and we said, what's the most important thing that we had in the last year? And it was all trips. So we're like, okay, we got to do more of those trips, right? So that was lifestyle accumulation. Intentionally, though, not just like, let's just spend it like crazy. Budgeted, making sure it's like we're not in a bad position, just like, all that. Now we're in the phase of asset accumulation. And so you've seen, like, we downgraded from 2 houses, multiple cars, into a 2-bedroom apartment. Our life is so much more simple, because like having to then take the kids to the Arizona house, and then I have the car over here, and then she's over there, gas price to the roof. Like, if we had 3 cars right now, it's like we have 1 car and we never drive. If we're leaving, she's going down to the grocery store. We don't even do that, actually. It comes to us. Like, she'll go to Target, she'll go do those things, right? We don't leave that much. We're saving so much money in so many things. We're so budgeted, and all the excess money goes into our capital allocation, goes into this investment, this investment, this investment. And we look at the investments. We're like, over the next 10 to 15 years, what is the best pot for us to think that we're making the most money? Okay, we think it's crypto for us personally, right? People could disagree. We think it's that. So we're going to fill that up to a certain delta, and then we'll go 40% to crypto. Then we'll go 20% to stocks. Then we'll go 20% to real estate. Then we'll go 20% to whatever other flexibility money that I think is there, right? And then we'll reevaluate that every single quarter. And so it's like, okay, well, we have the profit to do that. Now, do we make more money? No, we actually are making more money in the lifestyle accumulation, but we dropped our clients down a little bit, so we're making less revenue, but our overhead dropped by a crazy amount. So that gap is super important. So lifestyle is more simple. I love a small apartment with my kids, because like, if we had the big house, we'd be like, where's Caden? Like, where is he? Oh, he's in the other room. It's like, I just wouldn't be the same. Like they're here. Like, it's awesome for us right now. Yesterday we had to sit down and talk, and we're like, okay, like, do we want to have more kids? And we're like, yeah, like we want to have 4 total, right? Okay, what does that look like as we start to go into the next phase of life? We're here for sure for the next year, but then we started like researching, like, what's the best with our lifestyle? Where's the best place for us to live? Well, number 1 was actually Scottsdale, because like we're finding that like there's not much things to do with kids around Orange County. Like, the people in Irvine are kind of weird. Like, I'm not going to, go have them hang out with those people. So like, how can we create better community? Because the face now a better community, right? Scottsdale still has entrepreneurship. It still has good families. It still has good schools, better than California. The only downfall is the weather, right? The other one was Franklin, Tennessee. So we're going to Tennessee this week, and we're going to check things out. And so it's like the next phase is community phase, right? And then when our kids get older, it's like, okay, well, the next one probably is education phase, where it's like, how can I take them to different places in the world to teach them school, to teach them financial literacy, to teach them these things? They're going to be homeschooled, right? How can I take them different places? Well, to do that, we need to have a lot of money. So that goes into the phase we're in right now is the asset allocation phase. So for us, it's like we're disciplined to see our whole life. And if you're not that way, distractions happen, right? All of a sudden it's like, oh, well, babe, we got to make more money. Okay, I'm going to work more. Right? That's a distraction.
Yeah.
It's like versus like, well, what's our other option? Well, how about we don't go and spend $7,000 a month on food like we were?
Right.
Why don't we spend 4,000? Okay, there's 3,000. I got a $3,000 raise. Okay, what if we don't spend this much money on these silly things of just like, hey, let's just go out to eat, or let's just spend this thing on Amazon, or let's just get these things, right? What would that be? Oh my gosh, we just saved $12,000. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. We're spending a bunch of things on coaches. We're spending a bunch of money on me going to the Philippines. Okay, what we saved there? Oh, I paid $6,000. So all of a sudden we're like, yeah, that sounds better. Like we just saved like $20,000 for us to do that.
Yeah.
So I think like options and having a conversation amongst your spouse and other people to know like, what are all my options and do they fit in line with where I'm going?
Right.
Most people, it's just about the next shiny object.
Yeah.
I'm going to get that car,
Yeah.
So that's distractions. Do you have anything else on that?
Well, I was just going to say, I saw one of these questions, how does distraction affect confidence? And I think in the way that you've explained how you've had the end goal in mind and how you're trying to, okay, this time period is for this specific goal and this time period is for this specific goal. So it lets you take a look at the business and take a look at the money coming in and have confidence in like, okay, I have no issue spending the money here. I have no issue cutting the money here. So how does distraction affect confidence in people who don't have that?
Bro, I'm sitting in a 2-bedroom, I mean, we're tight in here, right? I'm sitting in a 2-bedroom apartment and our money is so good right now. And I'm coaching people that are making 3 to 5 times more revenue than I am. And I'm in a better financial position than them. They're in nice houses, they're in nice cars. They're giving their money away to those things that they're trapped by because their value is in their identity of their materialism things. They're coming to me for advice and I'm living the actual life that they want because for me, it's like we have the money to go do freedom stuff. We can do it. It comes down to why do we want to do this? What's the reason behind it? There has to be intention. Like Megan came to me and she goes, hey, there's this farm to table hotel in Franklin that's like $6,000 a night. She's like, I know, like I don't think we should do it, but like look at it, it's so cool. Cool thing about that is we both decided we shouldn't probably do it because it'd be like $24,000 to do it. We can do it though. That's the cool part. So that's the confidence. It's not like okay, let me go make more money. It's like we have that money if we want to. It's just like, what is it taking from though? Is this 4 days experience? Like what else could we do with that money? It's like, well, we could go to Hawaii and then also go to Europe and also like we can, okay, that seems better than that one situation, right? So it's weighing your options. And so for me, the confidence is also like, I don't care about materialism anymore. If anything, I think that the new phase of my life right now is how can I get better at giving money away? Because that's been the most impactful is when I'm able to cut a check to somebody and nobody knows I did it and to see the impact it had on that person. It's like that feeling of just like gratitude that I'm able to be in that position and to be like that disciplined for that money is like, dude, I would rather do that. There's like Megan was more of the one that was like, let's get a bigger house. Like we need more space. And I'm just like, I would live here forever because it challenges me to be like, is your ego in check? I have a buddy of mine, he's an agency owner and he has a super nice house in San Diego. We went to the house actually. And his thing was just like, oh, this house is great for content. This house is great for content. Nobody cares. I'm making mine in this room. Nobody cares. They care about who you actually are. They care about it was the information, right? If you want to foster to people that you're outside of this nice house or this nice cars, they're not even the market I want to go for. Right. So it's like I've gotten more deals being a 2-bedroom apartment than I did in my penthouse with the view in the back and look at him, right? Because the top people can snip through it all. And if they really care that much, like, hey, bro, you have all this success, you say, but you're in a 2-bedroom apartment. What's going on? It's like, you want the wrong things. You want to see my accounts? Yeah. Because I guarantee my lowest account, we have 17 accounts. My lowest account is more than all of my students, all their net worth, which is crazy, right? And that's not to be like braggadocious. That's because like it's discipline that they can do the same thing that I'm doing. will they though? Will they lower their lifestyle and learn how to be happy with it, and not from a sacrificial thing where it's like, oh my gosh, like our life is still good. Like, I mean, we're going to Europe and we're going to nice places in Franklin and all that. I don't need I don't need multiple cars. We don't have one car right now, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the biggest thing where it's like, my confidence has grown because I don't have to be the biggest D word in the room anymore. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people want to fluff their feathers. Challenge me. Yeah. Like, come to me in my 2-bedroom apartment and talk to me about like how I'm poor. Let's go eye for eye. Let's see. Like, let's really see what position that, like, it's intentional. I think that's the thing, is like, it'd be different if we didn't have all these different things. And also, I'm preparing for one of the worst markets in history. I mean, look at the bond market. We won't get too much into that right now, but like, you look at the bond market, you look at the stocks, you look at the hyperinflation. It's going to get brutal. And so people are going to get wiped out completely. I am saving assets and capital because I think that there is going to be a repricing of all assets where I'm going to buy things pennies on the dollar. And everybody else can't, because everybody else is dirt poor. The level of debt that everybody is in, there's not one person I know that's not in debt besides me and Megan. Not one person. Like, literally not one person. And that's not because like we were intentional at 5 years ago. We're like, oh, this is happening. Got it. Okay, we won't pull debt, right? Like, there's no way we'll pull debt.
Right.
And it becomes a different game. For example, we have a big live stream coming up, a big contract. That's a net 90 though. We're gonna have to pay out like $26,000 or $28,000 to all the people that are coming and doing all of it. Plus like the hotels and the travel fees and all that. It's like $28,000, right? So with the capital we have, because we don't keep much money in our bank, we allocate it obviously, right? So for me, it's like, well, I have the line of credit, which only for 3 months is gonna cost us like $800 to hold that in line of credit. Well, I could just say like, whatever, let's do that, right? Well, the new game for me the next 3 months is like, how can I not do that? Because that means it's losing. How can I restructure things and do it the way that I don't lose that? And so that's the whole entire philosophy for us to be like, okay, that's what we're actually doing. So it's a game within the game. And I think a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll look at all their accounts. So I just said, like, I have 17 accounts, right? If I looked at our net worth, I'd chill, bro. I'd be like, we're good. Like, we can just ride this out, right? I don't. Those are away from my eyes, and I only look at the business checking, which is allocating things every single month. So when money comes in, bam, it goes out, right? So I look at that number, and it makes me feel like I don't have anything. And so I also feel like I'm hungrier than ever, and I have more than ever. And that's not by accident, because I have it separated into like I gamify it, right? Yeah. I separate it where it's like, no, I actually, if you look at my bank account, you're like, this guy doesn't have much money in it. I feel that same way. So let's get more deals. Let's do more of services, right? So I think a lot of people kind of look at their whole position where it's like, oh, well, if I don't make money here, well, I'll just pull from that investment, right? Or I'll pull from that account, or I'll do that. It's almost just a cop-out way versus like, no, that means I lost. And if I lost, I have to pay for that loss as well. I'm not going to, now if things hit the fan again, I have to think about, is it worth me to pull this investment? Or is it, like, for example, if MMG, for example, if we started having bad months, I wouldn't just analyze it and be like, okay, I'm going to pull from our investments. I would analyze it and be like, is this something that I want to keep alive? Is my capital better fit not pulling from other investments, right? Let's say I pulled from my XRP, which I think my XRP next 5 to 10 years is going to be through the roof. I got to think about what I think is going to be in 5 to 10 years. I'm like, well, I'm really pulling, let's say 50 grand from it, but really that to me is probably close to 100 million. And so is it worth for me to do that? Or is there other places I can do? So it's always like knowing where everything is. And I think that's the thing that most people don't really want to take a look at, and they're not very sophisticated in, where it's like, they don't even know what their numbers are in their company. You can't even get to the point where I am, where it's like, I know where all my numbers are in my accounts. If you went through every single account right now, all 17, I can tell you how much is in them by the dollar figure, because I look at them every single day and it's in my head. It's just repetition. And most people are like, I don't even know it's my checking account. It's like, that's the problem. Right?
They don't have the discipline, right? Which is the perfect segue into chapter 3. Discipline is the real superpower.
Well, and this discipline, I think it's just also consistency, right? And obviously, like it's discipline to like, it's not hard. It's just tedious for some people. The thing though is when you start to get used to, it's just like working out. If somebody asks you like when you don't work out one day, what do you feel?
Unless my intention was that it was going to be a rest day, I feel like trash.
But even if it is a rest day, what does your body feel? What do you feel?
I'm just like, want to move.
Yeah.
I just want to go. Let's go.
Yeah. And I think that's because over time, like for me, it's like, that's why I can't take rest days, because like my mind goes crazy. Like it's easier for me to get out and work out than it is to take a break. Somebody who doesn't work out as much as you and I, it's easier for them to take a couch day than it is for them to go, right? Now, what is the difference is your brain is just an algorithm where if you feed it consistently these certain patterns, it wants to keep doing those patterns. So for me, people are like, how do you check your account every single day? It's because I made myself do it for years. And now I don't feel comfortable not looking at it. It's not like I don't care. I'll go find Wi-Fi. I'm the kind of guy that, like, let's say I'm in Bora Bora, right? And I have no Wi-Fi in my bungalow. I will walk to the Wi-Fi to just check the number because it's been a repetitive thing of mine over and over and over. So it's like you become this person that you keep habits with. And that's the discipline part of it. It's like most people aren't disciplined because they're thinking like, well, yeah, I can never do that. It's like because you haven't trained your algorithm to be able to do the discipline over and over and over.
Yeah.
For me, it like discipline comes down to like, and we'll get into some Ironman stuff. It's like that's changed my life completely because Ironman is the only sport that is no days off. You really shouldn't. Everybody else says like you need time to recover. You need those different things. And running, you obviously do. But Ironman, your days off are swimming and biking because it's not high impact on your joints. Yeah. Like it's just keeping your body in the flow of like, you're going to work out every single day. Right. And so Ironman's taught me consistency every day, discipline every day, but also when you're done with the workout, it doesn't end there. It's how can I recover for me to have a better session tomorrow. Right. And so that's the nutrition, that's the sleep, that's the small decisions you make. And it's as small as like, yesterday I ran a half marathon, pretty hard effort. And the hard part about it was like it's Memorial weekend. So it's just like packed over at Great Park. So I'm dodging people the whole entire time. But I ran a 1:33 half marathon and I felt comfortable the whole entire time. It's a big effort though, right? It wasn't like an all out effort by any means, but it was a good effort. And so right when I got home, what I wanted to do was just like lay down for a little bit and just like take a second. Well, no, that wouldn't be within my goals. So it's go to the fridge and get some protein, ice the knees and get your legs up on the wall, right? Did I want to do those things? No, I want to just lay on the ground and be like, oh, that was awful, blah, blah. But what's happening to the body, right? It stays stagnant. And so I go and do those things. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, what makes me feel better after? Well, going for a walk and like, not just like, some people say, put your legs up. Oh no, like flush them out a little bit. And then after like 5 o'clock, don't even move. Like just sit on the couch. Like be completely okay with not doing anything else the rest of the day, right? So what does that look like? Well, I'm also a father. So it's like, okay, well, communicate with your wife. Hey, what are we doing today? Like, can I do that even? Like, yeah, no, let's just chill. So we're on the couch and we're playing with Caden and we're going back and forth and all that stuff is there. What is the next thing I have to do? Well, let's get to bed early. Even though I don't want to, right? I might want to, because when you work out that hard, you're restless sometimes.
Right.
Well, what could I do to make sure I go to bed by 9:30? Well, get into bed by 8:30 because it's probably going to take me an hour to get to bed. I'm not going to scroll my phone. So it's all these small decisions that you make to get yourself to be, and I feel fresh today, right? All those small decisions where now I'm in a position right now. Now you look at that and you're like, that seems like a lot of work. Yes, for a lot of people, it's like, wow, you just made like 15 small decisions to give you one result. Well, guess what? We're doing it again today.
Yep.
And then we're thinking about we're leaving for Nashville on Wednesday. And so how do you do that? Well, if you do that every single day, it starts to become normal.
Yeah, the decision becomes easier in the
Super
moment. Like,
easy.
Yep, this is the right thing to do.
Right? It doesn't get easier. You just get better, right? And so I think it's like people think like, oh, is easy for you? Absolutely not. But my brain allows me to be like, hey, we should do this. I don't have to talk myself into it. I just have to make the disciplined like answer to the question, I will do this, right? Like, are you willing to do this? Yes or no? What is, and for me right now, it's like I'm qualified for world championships. And so like, that's my only race I'm on right now. And it's like, I'm not going to try to race that race. So it's also like, I don't really have something I'm chasing right now either. And so I've kind of changed my mindset into, my mind goes to, oh, you know what? Like, well, you don't really need to really be in that much in shape. And I've noticed that myself be like, I have an opportunity right now. I have an opportunity to chase something and work the muscle of, I have nothing I'm chasing right now, but can I still show up at 100% even though there's not this big trophy?
Okay.
And that's the new thing that I've kind of tapped into, where it's like, that's harder for me right now because it's easier to, we're going to the Philippines, we're going to try to win the race. Like, let's go. I have a goal I see, right? This is like what? Yeah, what are we doing? Yeah, like, okay, so then let's try to take that intensity for a result that really, who cares what I get in world championships? Because even if I do my best race, I'm not going to be top 100 even, right? So it's like, what are those things? That's discipline. And again, do you see how I'm like consistently looking at where is the opportunities of growth? And most people really don't want to do that because it is hard work. But for me, like, to be great at something in everything in my life, I'm willing to do more than anything else. I mean, here's a prime example of this. This is funny because, I mean, obviously it's a me and you podcast, so it's Jared talking a lot of the times. We had a podcast with Colin Kelly, right? My buddy. And our conversations are very just like, we're always talking back and forth about business. We love business, right? So my thing with YouTube and why I'm doing this podcast, because it allows me, one, to articulate what my mindset is, and especially these podcasts, I'm able to just free flow and talk. But you see that I'm very passionate about things. And when I'm passionate about things, I tend to talk a lot about them. And I also am a kind of person who's not like a Rick Gutman, right? Who is very calculated with his words. I think to, or I talk to think, right? And so a part of that, why I'm doing the podcast, because one of the things I'm working on is how can I use my words to be more intentional and take what I would do 1,000 words, make it 100 words. And so what exposes you is it's the podcast, and it's the hardest thing for me because it's hard to get myself to be calculated like a Joe Rogan, because I'm not that person. I have to learn this. I'm bad at it right now, right? And some people would be like, oh, no, you're great on podcasts. You're great on this. It's like, I don't care about those people. I'm looking at like, okay, let's dissect the people that are really good. So we go on Colin Kelly's podcast, and we took the podcast that we edited, and I looked at it and I was like, people don't care too much about his story in the beginning. They're going to care more about the business side of it. So we took because at first it was intro, Colin's story, sobriety, business of color, then AI. So I took the business of color and I moved it actually to the very front. I don't know if you saw that, but like we moved it to the very front, right? And the funny thing about the flow of the podcast now that I didn't count for is it actually made the podcast look like I was talking a lot more. Because in the beginning of the podcast, he talked about his story and everything else a lot. When we got into the business side of it, that was the only thing that me and him now can go back and forth with. And so we had some comments on YouTube that would have crushed most people where they're like, bro, shut up, guests. Like, just have your guests talk more, right? Like, the host does not stop talking, right? And a part of people, like Megan looked at it and were like, dude, there's always something to say about the host. I'm like, well, it's funny
First of
because
all, it's his podcast.
But okay, so that is the truth. But what was actually happening, because we had one person comment, he's the guy was like, I have no idea what color is about. He's like, I love the branding conversation. This was awesome, right? Somebody else was like, this podcast would have been better if the host let Colin talk. Somebody else commented the same thing, like, bro, let your guest talk. Well, if you look at those two people, they don't give a crap about me. They were Colin's people. So they're there for Colin, right? And so there's truth to that, where it's like, now you can't please everybody. The people that are coming to my podcast don't really care about Colin, besides us about business, right? They don't care about the color stuff in his story. They care about the business side of it. So what I was talking about was probably more valuable to them. But on the reverse side, that person who only cared about Colin could care less about this agency owner because they care about color. So both are right and both are wrong. Depends on how you look at it, right? And so I looked at it and I was just like, okay, at first I wanted to respond with like that explanation. But I got to a point where I was like, there is some truth in it. There is moments where I watched it and I was like, I probably could have had him talk a little bit more about that. I probably could have guided it better, right? And so if the whole thing for me was to be like, oh, I don't want anybody, I don't want anybody saying that I'm, I talk so much and all those different things. It's an opportunity for me to learn. It's an opportunity for me to let this have its course with me. What James talks about. And so for me, it's like, it's an opportunity. And then I thought about it and I was just like, so I responded back to those people to try to get them to comment more. Cause I'm like, at the end of the day, I think so many people try to be in the middle. They try to make everybody happy. And to be viral and also to actually get the right people in, you gotta be extreme on both sides. You gotta have people who hate you and people who love you. That means you're doing something right. That means you're breaking the barrier between like, he's not for me. Everybody who's successful is that way. I mean, you look at Grant Cardone, no middle. Andy Elliott, no middle. Even Alex Hormozy, no middle. Like people love him or they hate him. Dom Ivacon, who is a big CEO, he blurted out Hormozy's name, but they forgot the Z part. So he for sure said Hormozy. He said something interesting. He was like, his videographer asked him like, who's the top creator online? Who's the best business person? He was like, people say Hormozy, but like, bro, what has he built? He's a coach. He's never built anything himself. And there's truth to that. Like Alex has only come into other people's established businesses and made them better. So does that mean he doesn't have the skill sets to do it? Absolutely not. I think if he built something from the ground up, he could probably do it. But he's always just kind of came into other people's stuff, even Gym Launch and all those different things. Those other people's businesses that he's consulted with, right? Dom made a good point. And then if I thought about it from the standpoint of Alex saw that probably would have hurt Alex because he's probably like, well, bro, I can do it. And I think he can, right? But it's almost like, well, it was the extreme. It wasn't the middle part of it. So you then have this guy who's high level and Dom talking kind of crap on Alex, right? Then you have these other people who absolutely love Alex. Well, that's going to cause people to talk more, which therefore the algorithm's going to push you out more. And so I was thinking about it and I was like, if someone's looking at these comments and I responded with an emotional thing, right? Well, you don't know anything, it's my podcast and those kind of things. My true client avatar would be like, this guy's super insecure.
Right.
Versus like, bro, like I see what you're saying. You know, like some people want more of me, some people want more of Colin. Either way, it's great feedback. Like I'm definitely gonna get better at the whole entire thing. It just, the whole thing changes, right? So I think that's like the biggest part that I've learned where it's like, it's the intentions behind it. Did it offend me? No. I was actually really honored that somebody commented that they literally had the emotion, like it caused an emotional tie. Now, if we're getting only comments like that, then you and I would talk and be like, Jared, you need to shut up, right? Like you need to, you know, but we had a little bit of mixed comments, which, okay, we're in the right area, right? Can I get better? Yes. Should I change it all? Should it just be a podcast where it's just Cole and Kelly talking? I don't think it would do what we're trying to make it do then. I think it would just be, let's bring guests on and let's just highlight them. And I don't think people that are looking at me really care. They wouldn't go on my podcast, right? Like they want to know a little bit about me.
There's no center tie. You are the center tie.
Yep.
I think it goes back to kind of what you were saying in the beginning. It's like you're willing to be uncomfortable and take a look at these comments that are saying, hey man, like let your guests talk. Like, okay, I get what you're saying. There's room for growth. And that's one of those habits that you've built. Like, okay, looking at this from a view of how could I be uncomfortable about this? Because that's where the growth is.
Yep. I mean, that's, again, it was, I found things that I wasn't looking from the lens of like, how can I prove them wrong? It was almost, how can I prove them right? And I started actually seeing it and I was like, oh, that part, I could have done that better. Colin was about to say something and I was finishing my thought process. And I'm like, I kind of was like, oh, I was interested in what he was going to say there. I didn't let him get to that point. And so it was like, there's that's micro where it's like, you're looking at it, you're like, yeah, I for sure can get better. How can you get better? Don't beat yourself up. Don't go to the extremes now. Because there's a lot of times when we're talking to Colin where he kind of just like looked at me and I was like, okay. Like, and then I had to continue it. Right. So you're gauging between like, are they just processing and then talking more about it? Or are we going to have this awkward 5-second silence of just being like, okay, so let's go to the next question, which just breaks the whole energy. So again, it's not easy. Podcasting is very difficult, you know, and that's why for me, I love these episodes because I just flow. But yeah, I think that's a part of the discipline of the whole thing. So
I actually was looking at the title of the next one, Success Without Purpose Leaves People Empty. It's almost like, you know, looking through that podcast episode lens, like if that podcast was successful and people weren't leaving those comments, like, yes, the purpose of it is to get a good conversation and get these, you know, have this intellectual conversation between the two of you. But also, like, what would you define success in terms of having your conversation? Well, there's lots of things, right? Views would be great. Giving good information would be great, but also improving how you speak. and being a good interviewer. It's like in everything that you look at, like defining what success is, what the purpose of it, like what is the purpose of trying to win in this situation, win and scaling this business? Like that's the driver,
it's
right?
growth.
Like if you're not looking at the North Star, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, like it's funny too, because if you think now, those comments would offend you. But if you think in the future, and let's say I did get better, right? I have the trials have its way with me so I can create perseverance, right? What happens if we're only on episode, I think this is like 14. So like we're still new, right? We get to episode 100 and somebody goes, oh my gosh, Jared, I watched your episode in the beginning and like you were awful interviewer and now you're so good. That would give me pride.
Right.
So it's like the game's not over yet. And so it's like, well, the goal is like, how can I always keep growing? How can I always keep evolving? And success is hard because that goal line again is intentionality, because that one podcast, you look at those bad comments and you could say, okay, there's points off the board. Those color people aren't going to be my clients, right? So the thing is like, well, did I help Colin? It's like, well, I think I did, and some people could say like, oh, I wish I had more of Colin. Well, then that just means like Colin knows that people want more of him and he needs to go do more podcasts of people versus him host, right? I think Colin is a phenomenal host on his own podcast. We watch his podcast. He lets the people talk completely, but that's his personality too. If you had a camera on me and Colin when we were running, it's like the back and forth like that. So it was more of a conversation than I would say a guest podcast.
Right.
But then what was winning to me? Winning is it's my brand. I'm not doing this just to bring on other people so I can highlight them 100%. I'm doing it so I can actually activate a conversation with them that most people that would just be hosts that don't have my level of expertise can't pull out of them. It's the reason why Rick Gutman's podcast did so well, because the questions that I was asking, now I talked a lot less in that podcast than I did, let's say, in David Alvarado's, or in Colin's, right? Because there's some people that you just let go, and there's some people that you need to actually jump in and have guide it, right? Now that, again, that's definitive by success. If I want it to be a great piece for just my guest, then I would need to ask the right questions and let them flow, but then it's up to them to perform. And so then it's like, it
all comes down to like, what's the purpose of the whole thing?
And sometimes you can, obviously I know this, if we recorded the same episode again, different days, it'd probably come out differently, right? That's a conversation. It's like, it's never scripted.
Yeah.
It's just like, what do we think about today? Also, like how I go into the podcast is different. I might have some downloads from other people that I want to share. I might be reading a part of the Bible that I want to share that's differently. And so every day that we have a podcast, and that's why it's like, it's a conversation. But it's uncomfortable because I know the more, Taylor Welch was telling me this, he was like, bro, like wait for YouTube comments. He's like, they're going to destroy you. Like everybody, there's not one person. He's like, it is what it is. He says, but he's like, he has a rule where his team doesn't allow him to see the comments. Okay. Because they can tell his energy changes after he sees all of it, right? And so for me, especially when you're getting into like biblical entrepreneurship stuff and you're kind of putting faith in it, Christians are the worst. Like they will come at you like more than the average person. So that's like the thing with it is like there's some, and I say Christians, like obviously, there's an asterisk to that because some people are just like, ugh, like it's just like, I mean, people were getting mad at Brandon Lake for bringing on Nick Jonas as a collaboration to his new Christian song. And it's like, do they not realize that like the Jonas brothers' dad was a pastor? Like they grew up in the church. They were a Christian band the whole time. And they're like, well, he's not, like he's secular. It's like, again, and that was a whole thing in the whole, like this, it was such a great song. And it was just like Christians attacking each other. Just like the devil was just like, ha, you idiots. Like crazy. Right. So I think that's the success without purpose leaves people empty. If you don't have a purpose behind anything, you don't be surprised when you get your goal, you get your car, you get your house, you get all the things that you want, and you're left sitting there being like, "This is not what I thought it was." It's because there's no purpose behind it. I'm more happy with the little we show than I was with the more we show, because like we're on the right track of our plan right now. We're making waves every single month over month versus before it was like you saw the success in front of you, but then your actual account was sometimes going down or just plateauing. So I think also it's just like, I have the money to be able to do things that are very valuable to me. I remember when my mom got sick and she had cancer, I looked at her and I didn't have any money, and I had so much pressure to be like, well, she can't afford it. I need to find money somehow, and that's a pressure. And so that was another thing where it was like, hey, like, could I have had the money if I made better decisions? And that's when it gets deep, where you're like, oh, it was kind of all my fault. Right? Like, not that she has, cancer or anything, but it's all my fault that I don't have the money to help her get better treatment, those kind of things. Now, my mom obviously took care of herself. She makes good money now. But those are things that get you to think about it, where you're like, yeah, it's kind of my fault. I could have been in a situation. So now it's just like, how can we have the money to employ the right things, which is mentors. The more you meet like a Rick Gutman, the more that you meet a Taylor Welch, the more you meet even Dom Ivacon, like all those guys, like they give you some nuggets where it gets you to be better. And most people would never spend the money that I'm spending on mentors, and that's why they won't get the results that I'm getting.
Right. I was going to say, was there any defining moments where your mindset shift on what success looked like, going from, or like not what success looked like, but like the purpose of what you're doing? Because like it seems like you've kind of always had this bigger end goal in mind, but obviously there were ups and downs. Like, was there any moments, like maybe something with your mom that came up, where it was like, ooh, the purpose is different?
I think a lot of big small moments, right? Like there wasn't one massive one that was like, that's a shift. But I think the people I was trying to impress, they say like every 5 years, the people that were in your circle, it's like a 99% chance they're gone. Which if you think about like 5 years ago, right? Like who was in your circle? I think you and I just started working together 5 years ago. So before that, you had no idea who I was, and then those 5 years, you probably were hanging out with people in your school, or maybe around, and that was me. Like every 5 years, I started going backwards. I'm just like, wait a minute. Like, yeah, the people 5 years ago are not in my life at all. I don't even know who they are anymore, right? Why was I so impacted by what they thought of me or who they were and all these different things, right? And I think about like these next 5 years, it's like, who knows, right? There's employees, like my old assistant. He was like the most important person to me. It's like, and I don't even think about him at all anymore. Not because I don't love him. Like if he reached out, I obviously respond, but it's like not part of my life anymore. Ex-girlfriends you thought were the world in high school, and now it's like, who cares, right? Like you don't even know what they're doing. So I think that was a big thing for me to realize, that the people I'm impressing right now might not even be there for me long term. And that's not a mindset where you're like, oh, well, don't care about relationships. No, for sure, nurture relationships. But if it crossed the line between like, oh, I have to impress these people, or I have to live up to their expectations or deal with those things, then I think that's when it gets dangerous. Another thing was so like if I ask you like 7 years ago on June 1st, what were you doing?
No clue.
Yeah,
but sit and think about it.
Yeah. So then what date do you remember that was impactful to you?
Just any date, or like 7 years ago?
Before 7 or more years ago.
Dates that have significant emotional meaning.
So you probably remember September 11th, 2001. Right. Do you remember that actually?
I was too young, but I do have a memory of it.
Okay. So
ask me about September 9, 2001. Zero
no
clue,
idea.
But I have a single memory from.
And like that, your brain, you can tap into some of those things, right? Because like, let's say there was that date, and you might not know the date exactly, but there's things in your brain that are locked in there. That's why if you see an old friend, they're like, bro, remember when we did this? You're like, oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that in so long. And then what does that do? It activates another memory. It's like, oh, then we did this. It's like, that's always in there, but it's not front of mind. Right. And so trauma on both sides is what is front of mind. And so if you ask me like, okay, what's happened in the last 5 years in your business? I would tell you all the traumatic things only. I want to tell you the average things. I would tell you like literally the most traumatic things, right? And I remember the room. I remember what they were wearing. I remember all that, right? And so I think for me, that's the kind of thing that I've kind of realized, where the traumatic experiences shaped who I was, because it's the brain trying to cope with how can I make that not happen again, or how can I make more of that happen again, right? And so it's the extremes of it. Now, if you were to ask me in business, right, how much more of those traumatic experiences can I list out versus you, right? I would probably fill a whole entire book and you'd probably fill up a whole page, right? And so that's why, because like the pressure I have as the business owner to making sure that your check is there and his check is there and her check is there. It's the highs and lows, and that's the part of business. Now, could I have actually learned more, if you ask me, the last 5 years? Yeah. Like I slowed myself down a little bit. So I've kind of learned where I was like, wait a minute, the bad things that have happened to me, you wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for COVID.
Right.
Isn't that crazy to think about?
Yeah.
So it's like I never would have, I probably would have started hiring people, but I would have missed your window of opportunity.
Yeah.
I would probably waited longer, but I got to a point where I was like, we got to fix this, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have started coaching if it wasn't for us almost losing our business, because that was how can I make money? Let me do coaching, right? And so it's like all the things that have happened that were traumatic have actually birthed something that was more powerful, because it gave me courage to be like, I have to act on this, right?
Yeah.
I have to hire more employees. I have to try these different things. Like, okay, we're growing. I have to get more people into it, right? So yeah, I think that those were like, it's multiple situations, but it's always the most traumatic. That's when I'm coaching people, I get excited when they're going through hard times. Like I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Now they're growing.
Yeah.
Finally. When it's just like when they send me a text, they're like, bro, everything's good, everything's going great, like blah blah. They think I want to hear that. I want to hear that everything is burning. What are you doing about it?
Right.
How are you gonna help with it? Right. One of my coaching clients, his problem is he always thinks the best in people. So he'll hire somebody and they'll say one thing and he's like, bro, they're the best. They're the best ever. Oh, right. And I keep telling him, I'm like, let's not get too excited until a year. Okay, like that's the new rule. He's like, I know. I get a text from him, bro, this guy's a monster. He's let's not get excited until a year. And it's been 3 hires he's had where all of them have burned him in such a bad way. And then he's just like, I just don't get it, bro. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're learning that fortunately you're learning don't get excited about people until they show you consistency, because you're better off with somebody who's consistent but less talented than someone who's talented and less consistent, right? Your best ability is availability, right? And so I think a lot of people think your best ability is talent. Well, no, if you're not available as a talent, it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
How would you define success now versus years ago?
So much not. I posted on my Instagram the other day where it's like the best thing that's ever happened to me is my life changed when I was promoted from son to father. And everybody kind of says that stuff where it's like your life changed the father. I mean, you know it too. It's like your purpose is so much bigger now. And so the cool thing with like me coaching is I'm coaching these people, and for the first time, I'm almost like fathering them in business for the first time. And what I'm noticing is their parents and their surrounding when they're younger never taught them financial literacy, which actually makes them depressed, and is emotions that come from it that like, and you can say like, well, it's your fault, but it's like at the same time, it's like you weren't ever taught this.
Right. And
so every single thing now in my eyes runs through the funnel of, how can I teach my kids the right principles? And so then you ask like, well, what's the foundation principle? And it's like God. And so then it's challenging me to be like, well, am I even the person that can lead them to God? And the answer right now is no. I'm trying, but now God has taken me like an onion and just completely shedding all my like flaws. And you're not willing to give that up. You're not willing to give this up. You're not like, and it's just showing me. It's such a great refining process.
Yeah.
I went golfing with my best friend the other day, and he asked me the question, and it's John Garrett, and he completely like asked me this question where he was like, so why are you talking about God more like right now? Not like a attacking way, just more of just like curious. I'm like, bro, because it's like actually changed my life. And I know people say that, and like I don't want to like come off like everybody else, but like I actually started reading this thing. I actually started reading, not thinking what I was taught when I was younger, other people. I actually started going and doing it myself. And I started realizing that it's so much deeper than I ever imagined. And then all of a sudden it started taking me for this journey. And when you're new to something, you're unconsciously incompetent. So you're just like, I want to be like the best God warrior of all time. And then you start to read the stories in there and you're like, I have so much to learn. And that's exciting. And so for me, it's like the foundation for my life right now is how can I serve the kingdom and not my flesh? That's super hard, especially coming from a secular business owner and looking at the materialism, like the materialistic things, right, of my life. Of if I don't have the nice cars, if I don't have the nice watches, if I don't have the nice houses, people will think of me less than. And I want people to see me for my heart and see me for me to bring them closer to God. And that's why I'm not really scared to post things about God anymore. And it turns off some people. I might lose some deals, but I think the kingdom actually will be bigger. And so it's like, how can I teach my kids the lessons that I wasn't taught when I was younger? And the only way I can teach the correct way, because I was taught these lessons, but I wasn't modeled them. I mean, that was a big part.
Yeah.
I knew the stories. We went to church every Sunday.
Yeah.
My dad told me about all the stories. It wasn't modeled though. And it's way harder to model it than it is, because those are behind closed doors.
Right.
Those are the sins of lust, not just lust of like sexual lust, but the lust of money, the lust of things, the lust of just like all the things I want to be. And you see a dad that has such a nice, like, he's so rich, and then his kids are like, oh my gosh, like my dad is like, he's the owner of this and he's the owner of that, and like they're pumping their dad up, and you're kind of like, I want that, and you're like, well, why do I want that? It's like, oh, that's ego.
Yeah.
I want to be seen, right? I want to be seen by God. And like it's so much more difficult, which is why like also I think God's refining the whole process with me. And I'm not even close to being there, but I'm just so excited to be on the journey and be around other good men who have done it, and be in their presence to really realize that it's like, at the end of the day, I want to be with my family for eternity. And I think everybody does, but nobody really thinks about what that actually means. And I don't want to be, God, I prophesize in your name. I cast out demons in your name. And he's like, depart from me, you creature of unlawfulness. And I think about that, and like people think, oh, just believe in God, right? Or just do it's simple. And it's like, it's a relationship is getting to know him. And so again, it goes back to the distractions. It's like, how do you not be distracted?
Right.
And I get the most distracted when things are going good. God brings me closer to him when I literally have nothing. And so then I kind of think about that concept, and I'm like, I grow more with him when I'm suffering than I am thriving. So how can I work on that? Because I would like to have both, but at the same time, God refines you when you're going through suffering. So then when I go through suffering, it's almost like, okay, God, what are you teaching me? Right. Yeah. So that's the foundation. I think that's the bigger goal.
Yeah. So I have a question for you,
Yeah.
and I think this might ruffle a few feathers.
Love it.
But the topic of this podcast is why entrepreneurs stay stuck. Do you feel that an entrepreneur or a business owner who doesn't have a relationship with God will ever get out of feeling stuck?
You can find happiness yourself in things that are temporary. It comes down to the thing I talked about in multiple podcasts, where it's the cup with the needle hole in it. And some people are really good about filling up that cup over and over and over with different things, and where it feels like it's full. The thing I've noticed though is, I'll give you an example of my grandpa, who passed away when I was younger. Didn't have a relationship with God, and just didn't feel like he needed it. And at the end of his life, he's sitting there. He was a big smoker, and he had this big tube. I was super young, but I remember this tube coming out of his throat, and it was pulling out all the black. It was just like from the years of smoking. He started smoking when he was 14, and my dad's praying over him, and he's like, Dad, like, you're like, to his dad, right? He's like, I want you to, like, believe in God. I want to see you in heaven again, blah, blah. And he saw like a tear drop on his face. And I think that moment he realized, like, I need something bigger. It made him human for the first time. And so I think it goes back to distractions. I think he was distracted his whole entire life. It's like, I don't really need this, right? And so I'm not saying it's impossible for people not to be quote unquote happy, but what's weird about like being happy with God versus being happy in the world? Happy in the world is more pleasure. It's literally lust of everything. And you'd be foolish not to say that like drugs are not fun. Like, drugs are really fun. That's why they're appealing. Alcohol's fun. Orgies are fun. They're appealing to the eyes. Gets to a point though where then something happens where then your spirit kind of breaks. It's the reason why Wolf of Wall Street was talking about his orgies, Jordan Belfort, on the Impulsive podcast, and he said this disgusting story, and he felt repulsed talking about it. And you're like, well, you were doing it. Like, so what is that? What is that distance from you accepting you're doing it? Because in the moment it was fun, but then later on talking about it, he kind of was reserved. So it wasn't really fun to talk about anymore. And so you're not really living in your purpose anymore. And so I think the real answer is, I say, true happiness and probably fulfillment. Because I don't know, God's not here to be like, I'm here to make you happy. I'm here for you to fulfill your destiny so you can be with me in eternity where you can be happy forever. And how are you happy? You're in paradise with him all the time, worshiping him. And some people are like, well, I don't want to do that. That doesn't seem fun, right? You have no idea the happiness and the bliss. You have no idea a world that doesn't have sin in it, that doesn't have corruption to it. And it's really interesting because Taylor was talking about this, and he goes, some people think that Eve was like the most stupidest girl ever. Like, well, how would she eat the apple, right? What you don't realize is Adam and Eve were like the biggest supercomputers, the best of all time. Why? Because they had no past trauma. They had no parents teach them wrong things. They were the highest level. So what was she tempted with? She was tempted with food. And that's the interesting thing, is the first thing that God or that the devil tempts anybody with is usually food. You look at when God was in the desert, he tempted him with a loaf of bread, turned that loaf of bread into, or that stone into a loaf of bread, right? Eve, an apple, right? And so you think about those things and you're like, well, temptation has like this desire. But then when Eve eats the apple and Adam eats the apple, it's the knowledge of good and evil. And then what happens is they realize that they're naked. So they're seeing their sin for the first time. They're seeing themselves for the first time. And then what do? They go hide from God, knowing full well that God is omniscient, omnipresent. He can see all things, right? What does God say? Adam, where are you? Where are you? Right? You don't think that God knew where he was? So why is he asking like, Adam, where are you? And the reason, because you're not in my presence anymore. You're out of my presence. Where are you? So some people think like, oh, God was literally like playing hide and seek. Like, where are you? Like looking on this leaf and looking on this tree. And it's like, it wasn't that. It was, where are you? Where is your heart? Where are you going? And if you understand that, like, there is a God, and it gets into people that if they're atheists, they don't understand this, right? But if you're somebody that actually believes in that there is a God, then that God is perfect. And so the things that he writes about, the things he says, there is no flaw to it. Because that'd be a very dangerous thing to think about. Well, there's a God out there, but he makes mistakes too. Oh, that's a harsh world to be in. There's a God that it's perfect, right? He's all perfect. And so when you think about that, it's like that's free will, where it's like he's challenging you with the question of like, where are you? For you to check yourself, to be like, oh my gosh, I just fell into sin. And so that's why I think when people think like happiness, like, well, can I have happiness myself? That's what Lucifer did.
Right.
Can I have happiness? Look, his life is miserable. Imagine like trying to like beat God all the time. You sacrifice his only son. You're like, yes. And all of a sudden he's like, no, what did I just do? We just like literally, like if I just didn't sacrifice him, I would have taken all these people and thrown them all into hell because there's no redemption at all.
Right.
What did I just do? Right.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I'm going to go after Jared. I'm going to make sure he's addicted to weed, and I'm going to make sure of all these things. Oh no, now this guy is breaking through all this. Now he's bringing more people to God, right? Like that's the thing about it, where it's like you look at all these different people and you're like, even the things he does right, it's wrong. And so it's just this battle of, you don't think Satan and the devil was happy when Jesus was getting flogged on the cross? And that was probably the best day of his life. Followed up by the worst day of his life, right? 3 days after. So I think that's the thing that most people don't recognize is true happiness in the world is not really true happiness. It's a counterfeit of happiness. It's the lust. And so true happiness is being divine with God. Some people think hell is just this place of fire and all this different stuff. And yes, it does say that, a lake of fire, and there'll be gnashing of teeth. There'll be screaming. I don't know necessarily if people are so ignorant to think that the reason why it's so painful is because the physical fire. I think what's more painful is the example you see of Jesus on the cross. It's being away from his presence. That's why it doesn't say one time that Jesus ever made any noises when he's getting flogged. And we have the whole thing right here. I mean, dude, like this is what they actually, I don't know if you can see it, but this is actually what they were whipping him with, right? So it's actual real bone, and it's these little balls that are like, would rip into the skin and rip it out, right? There wasn't anything in the scriptures that talked about him like crying and making these noises, right? It probably was painful. But when it say he cried out when he said, Lord, Lord, why have you forsaken me? So that was the one where God had to turn his back on Jesus for that moment to happen, right? That was the most painful thing for him. It wasn't the pain of being flogged. It wasn't the pain of the crown of thorns. It was the presence of God for that one little second was away from him so he can fulfill his destiny. And that was the pain. So I think most people just don't really recognize that, like, you have no idea what true happiness is. And I'm still finding it too. And when you find it, you see true peace. The happiest I've ever been was when I hear from God. It wasn't the deals I make, the money I make, the accolades. It wasn't all of that. It was like when I feel God is proud of me, when I'm like fully defined, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the answer, the long answer of a very complicated question. You know? And if you guys are somebody that disagrees with that, head over to Jake's YouTube channel at Jake Branch and can spam hate comments. Spam, he's a rich kid.
Yeah.
that was funny.
Right? Yeah, I mean, you kind of got into the real flex is peace. You know, the success is peace, alignment, and stewardship. It all of it comes back to, like, what is your purpose in all of it? Why are you wanting to build and scale your business? Like,
and what is peace?
For what? Yeah.
Yeah. What is peace to you? Is peace having so much money where you think that when you have all that money, you don't have to work again, that you're going to have peace? I know it's not true. I know people that have more money than they could ever spend in their life, and they are still looking at me and saying, I miss those days. I miss chasing something. I miss building. Now I just kind of, yeah, what's the point? You know, like it's why you see people who sell their businesses for a lot of money, they get depressed after. I mean, Dana White was in his hotel room for 2 days, couldn't sleep, couldn't do anything. And you think, like, what the heck? Like, because it's just over. I don't think people realize, like, it's just a wire. It all of a sudden hits your account. You log into your bank account, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm worth 500 million. I'm worth $1 billion. Now what? Right? It was the journey that was actually and especially if you're an entrepreneur that actually like likes business, it's like, that is the game. If you look at like a sports, right? When you get the trophy, they physically hand you the actual trophy and you are now the champion. That is not the best. The best is right when the buzzer ends and all of you guys are jumping and there's this bliss and there's this laughter and there's this dancing in the locker room and there's this thing. Why is it so? Because everybody's on the same page about we sacrifice so much. And then, like, I love it with Ironman too. It's like people cry at the end of it, not because they finished, but because they think back to all the sacrifice that they had, right? And that's what it is. It's the happiness is what you sacrifice to get the goal, and you prove to yourself that I actually did it, you know? And so that's kind of like the piece of it where it's like, what is the doing it? We're going to sacrifice for 15 years to build this business, and I'm going to sell the business for 500 million. Now what? What do you do with that money? Now, a purpose would be like, we're going to spend 15 years building a company. And during us building the company, we're going to change lives. It's the reason why Dave Ramsey doesn't have really intentions to sell his company, because he's in this purpose in the company. He's helping people in the company. And if he does sell his company, he's probably going to have a way to foster that money to more people. He's not going to keep all of it and be like, oh, I need all this cash. He's going to be like, how can I foster it to a bigger reason? And so I think about, like, how do you gain peace? Well, first, it's not being confused by what we talked about, the distractions, being disciplined, becoming the person that you're proud of. If you got there by cheating, if you got there by stealing people's money, if you got there by selling a service that isn't very good, but you con people into it, you're going to feel that repercussion. But if you have a business that you really change people's lives, and you've not just changed your clients' lives, but your employees' lives, and you made them better, And you have a bunch of people out there being like, man, this boss I had in the past changed my life. What happens is a chain reaction where then that person teaches their kids the principles they learned from that person and that situation. And it's just stories that just mold, right? I have stories of people that don't even remember telling me those stories and how much they impacted me. And I mean, like the quotes I say, like growth always and always. I got that from Ryan Serhant. And Ryan Serhant got that from somebody else that was mentored before him. Mm-hmm. And that person got from somebody else. And so that one statement that I've heard on a TV show one time that he said, he doesn't say it anymore. So I've kind of like now said it a bunch of times, but it stuck with me and it impacted me a lot and it got me to go. So it's just like, what purpose are you doing, right? If you're just somebody behind the curtain making all this money yourself and you're not impacting anybody, what good is it? And so I think that's like the whole thing about what is like the real flex is peace. And that's the cool thing about entrepreneurship is you can get peace and you can get profit. It's just you have to go in the right order. It cannot be profit first and then peace comes out. Do you see how people do that? People think profit first and then they'll have peace.
Give me the peace.
Yeah, no, it's peace in what you do and the trusting in that God will provide and that ethics always wins. Right. Maybe not short term, but long term. Doing things the right way the first time is super important. When you make mistakes, I mean, prime example is we have a client right now that before they sign up with us for social media, they sign up with this big company that does commercials and all these different things. And this company is a huge company. They're out of the East Coast, and they've had nothing but problems with them. And the people, when they make mistakes, they don't own the mistakes, and they just kind of like bark back and everything else, right? And all of a sudden, like, we're going to take over the whole entire contract with them. And the reason is because the marketing manager called me and he was like, Jared, the thing I love about you is when there's mistakes made, you just own them and then you get them right. He said that goes so far with us because with so many people we work with, they're always making excuses. Well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Well, blame, right? That comes down to my ethics. I used to be that person, but my ethics now are like, how can I serve people? Even if I don't agree with what they're saying, let's still serve them, right? Let's serve the people that hate me. And if you can do what God says, like, don't just serve your friends, serve your enemies. And if you actually embody that, what happens is you really can't lose because the ego will tell you we'll get even, like that stuff's important, but you can't lose because you're just always serving people, not expecting something out of the servant, right? You're expecting just to serve only, and it stops there. And then all of a sudden that opens you up where God can actually spend you, and you can actually be his currency because you actually are, which is the last thing I put on here is, well done, my good and faithful servant, right? Matthew 25:23. And servant, who are you serving? You're serving God. Well, what did he model? He modeled going to the sinners, going to the bad people, and serving. It's like that one, I forgot what verse it was or what chapter it was in or what book it was even in, but when the disciples and Jesus was walking, and then the Romans were like, where are you going? And he's like, we're going to wherever this place. And they're like, okay, well then carry our bags. And he's like, okay. And he carried more bags than what they told. And then they said, okay, you're good here. And he's like, well, no, let's keep going. And they're like, what? They're all confused. They're like, well, we did this to get back at him, and now he wants to carry our bags longer than what we told him to, right? Like that is the mentality where it's like if you get into, you change people's hearts because they're just like, wait a minute, I was so mean to him and I like literally did all these different things and he really just wants to serve me. There's no intentions behind it either. Like, why is he doing it this way? Then it gets him to think like, why is this person happier? Why? And then it gets him to ask questions. So that's pretty much the whole thing. I mean, this is a longer episode, but like, I think those 5 chapters have layers behind it. And I hope that we were able to, cover anything. Is there any last thoughts on that?
It's just a good conversation for people to take a second and not get distracted at what's right in front of you, but look at the big picture in mind and ask yourself the question, what am I doing this for? Yeah,
I love it. Leave comments, talk about how I talk too much, talk about all of it. We appreciate every feedback and everything about you guys listening to this podcast. We love you guys. We'll see you next episode.